Well, first of all, I'd like to just say a huge thank you to everybody who's come today. This is a fantastic turnout, and I'm really chuffed that so many people think that what we're unveiling today is important enough for you to kind of give up your time to come here and come right see. Couple of kind of thank yous to begin with. First of all, to Hazel and her team. Yeah, I think you know she's had a heck of a kind of day today, organising and juggling all sorts of things, and we've moved this room around and one thing and another. So big thanks to Hazel and her team for kind of doing that. Well, thanks to Marie as well for forbearance on the number of people in the room, so that's it. And also thanks to Annabelle as well, because the trophies have been decorated with kind of ribbons, which we did last night. So it's Annabelle's creative streak that kind of made them look so good. So thank you for that as well. And also welcome to everyone here. I'm kind of delighted that we've got Michael here, and obviously kind of like members, you know, Eric from the family and representatives from Tornante as well. People from the kind of the football club here. We've got a couple of our presidents here, kind of like representing those people who did their bit to save the club at the time. I've got a number of people who are involved in the History Society and my kind of like committee, which is fantastic. And I'd like to thank them for all their support with our endeavours in terms of the History Society and what we're trying to do with this football club to show off its kind of like history and so on. We've also got representatives here from the Portsmouth Supporters Club Central Branch. Yeah, I think we've got a few kind of, wave, make yourselves known in that sense. Because without their support for this project, because this was a major undertaking by the History Society to commission and pay for this kind of trophy, and the support that the Central Branch Supporters Club gave us was integral to kind of, to making sure that the project stacked up. We also have Alan Dyer from the British Silverware, right? He's here to represent. Where are you, Alan? Yeah, there we are. Fantastic. Right, I had the privilege to go up to Sheffield to see the craftspeople that made this replica, and when it's unveiled in a minute, I think you'll understand why it's important that we've got a representative from British Silverware here, because this is a magnificent kind of piece of work. So thank you for coming all the way from Sheffield for that. Rasheen, did you make it from the university?
Haven't seen
Rasheen, right? So we were hoping to get Rasheen from the university here, because as I say, we are working on one or two kind of projects with the university on an archiving sense. I'll say a little bit more about that in a moment. And also we've got some supporters, right, who can just about remember what it was like for Portsmouth to win the league, and next season will be the 70th kind of like anniversary of that. So I'm delighted that you can kind of like have made it today. I think in particular I'd like to single out Cyril, say hello Cyril, right? Cyril and I go back a long way, Cyril, don't we? We do, right? When I was probably, it must have been about 12 or 13 or so, Cyril was the guy, he was a friend of my Uncle Roger, who was the person who first took me to Fratton Park. But Cyril, we used to go to Fratton Park in the mid-70s through thin and thinner, didn't we, Cyril? We did. So I'm delighted Cyril and his wife Dot can be here today as well. And also we've got Josh. Where are you, Josh? Yeah, Josh over there. I've known Josh, about 10 years now, Josh? Must be something like that. Something like that. And Josh and I, we've actually been working on, which hopefully is going to see the light of day in the not too distant future, and we're working with Pompey and the community on a book about the 1939 FA Cup final. And that 39 FA Cup final, that's the 80th anniversary next season. So it's a really big year we've got coming up for history next year. So yeah, great to see you here, kind of like Josh as well. And also on the committee, we've got David Reed. Where's David? Yeah, David gives a real connection to the championship years. Tell us what your connection is.
My father is on the photograph with the one that is played in the side, Dougie Reed.
Indeed,
played in the side, won the championship.
So it's great to have you, to have a real also we've got Michael, from Bournemouth, right, you're kind of a Bournemouth season ticket holder now, but I think originally your heart actually is where, Michael?
I was just explaining before, during my youth, I thought that the sun rose and set on Fratton Park.
There we are.
And I was actually here and locked out when the ground record was broken.
Well, there we are. So there's a story there. And Michael, actually, if you look at Michael presented to the club. I think Eric, you received it, didn't it? On the time the team photograph there with Monty Ian and the autographs. That was presented to the club by Michael. So that's now in the History Society archive, and we kind of put it on display. So pleasure to have you here as well. So.
Here we are.
Here we are. Thank you. Here we are. Right. One of the reasons why I think we're doing this, if we go back only about 10 years or so, when in actual fact, we have to give Sasha Guydemak some credit, right? The reason why I have to give Sasha Guydemak some credit is in actual fact this little baby in here, the 2008 Replica FA Cup that we've got, we have to acknowledge that without the money that Mr. Guydemak put into the football club at that time, Portsmouth Football Club probably wouldn't have won the FA Cup, right? Yeah. However, right? Because we've got Head here, who's our film producer that's working on the film that we're doing of the reason why also we're here today, possibly. Because at the end of the day, Mr. Guydemak probably, it's fair to say, didn't really have the history of this football club in his heart, right? He saw it as a 21st century football club competing in Europe with a stadium in the middle of Portsmouth Harbour. We all know how that story ended, right?
In a skip.
So, in a skip, exactly that. So, when we became community owned in 2013, right, one of the things that me as a Pompey fan, I go back to 1970 with my first game, nearly kind of 50 years into that. One of the things that we wanted to do or I wanted to do, to be honest, is to start rebuilding that history and that archive, yeah? And we kind of, a lot of us kind of worked on Ashley Brown and kind of, I think, Ashley Emberson and a whole load of people, Joe Manning Cooper, Pompey fan based in London, who knew Milan Mandrick to get the picture of kind of like HMS Victory at Trafalgar back where it belongs at Portsmouth Football Club. We still know where the kind of the dining table and chairs made with the wood from the Victory that was on the Warrior that was given to the club that was chucked on a skip by Guydemak. We know where that is, and hopefully one day we can get that back where it belongs at the football club. But those are kind of things that it's harder for us to kind of do. The History Society kind of came up with a project called Pompey Voices, which is around trying to record fan memories of this football club and what it does. And out of that, we are now hopefully going to be getting charitable status for the Pompey History Society, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 months or so. Our application's in, and we're waiting for kind of like for feedback on that. But also, Portsmouth Football Club is a big football club, right? We may be in League One, we may be in League Two, we may have had a fantastic journey up and down the leagues, right, which is kind of part of the rich tapestry of our life. But the bottom line is, and I'll go back to kind of Cyril in that sense, when I first started going to Pompey, talking with Cyril in the 1970s, Cyril was telling me the story of the championship years, right? These things that these people witnessed. So when I grew up supporting Pompey, right, I was supporting a big club. We may have been rubbish and heading for the 4th division, right? But I was supporting a big football club. And we are still a big football club, right? Sasha Guydemak also underlined the fact that we are a big football club in his own inimitable way, right? But we are a big football club, and we're a unique football club, right? As a football club, we are one of a handful of clubs that has won the 1st division, which is going to be unveiled in a minute. The 2nd division. Well, I have a story on that, right? Some of you might remember this picture. Anyone remember that picture, right? 2003, we were champions of the nationwide Division 1, as it was called then. In old money, that's the 2nd division in my book, right? So the replica that we've got kind of looks like that. But me being the kind of like, stickler for kind of detail, actually, that's the trophy that the Football League gave us for winning the 2nd division in 2003. So it's kind of down there. So that represents winning the 2nd division, right? We also, last season, in incredible style, won the 4th division. Yeah, League 2 trophy. And we've got a fantastic replica here from the Football League. So there is a little bit of a kind of gap missing, and that's the 3rd division, right? Which we won in 1962 and we won in 1983, and it's Knightsea. Yeah, glad you could kind of make it, because Knightsea, you were the goalkeeper in that championship winning team of 83, weren't you?
I believe so.
You, how many clean sheets did you keep? Lots. We've actually got kind of 90s third division kind of championship medal in the archive that we've got in this room now. So the History Society, I'm delighted to say, we're going to be working with British Silverware and the Football League, or the EFL you must call it these days, to commission a 3/4 size replica of the third division trophy. So what we will have in here in the hopefully the not too distant future by the start of next season is the first division, the second division, the third division, the fourth division, the FA Cup, the Community Shield, and then as a longer term project we also want to try and get a replica of the third division South trophy that we won in 1924, because we are one of only 2 teams that has won all 4 divisions plus either the South or the North version of the Football League. Wolves are the other ones. So that's a pretty unique and big football club, I'm sure you will agree. So I'll kind of cut to the chase now, and we'll kind of get to the end of this. But the History Society, we're becoming a charitable trust. The History Society is there to work as a charitable trust with the football club. And I was talking earlier with Michael about the plans that Tornante have to kind of make Portsmouth Football Club and give us a kind of like a museum. And the History Society is going to be there as a fundraising body, be that through kind of donations and bequests and the rest of it, but also looking for kind of heritage lottery funding. We've got a bid in at the mall. We're going to be putting a bid in for some money to tell the story of the 70th anniversary of this championship and do some real archiving work. And you guys who were there at the time, we want you to be at the heart of that to tell your stories about kind of like what happened. And we've got some plans for kind of social media engagement with younger fans as well to remind them. So, right, we're drawing to an end of my remarks. I've gone on too long as always. I'm a teacher, you know, you can't take it out of us in that sense. So this is now the moment. So I'd like to ask you if we could, if John, if you'd like to come up, and Michael would like to come up as well. Yeah, this is the moment. I think there are 2 words. 1, be gentle, 2, be gentle. Right. So if you would like to gently come in here and just gently remove that kind of thing. I'm sure you will agree. There are some beautiful kind of things in the world, but there are not many things that are as beautiful as that. Yeah. Michael, the floor is yours. Yeah.
I think this is great. I come from an institution that has a similar respect for the past, Disney, and we have a lot of events with people that have worked at Disney, people that have been involved with, but we don't have 5 trophies. We have multiple theme parks, but anyway, and I think the potential of the future only works if you build on the memories and the evocative feelings of the past. We were talking. We made a deal with the university for the kit, and today we announced it. And the point there was that Pompey and the football team tell a story. This story's gone on for more than 100 years, and the relationship with the university continues telling a story as opposed to just having and there's nothing wrong with sponsors. They support the team, whether they're cars or banks or whatever they are. But there's a difference between having a university and the association with the next generation and with athlete scholars and all of that, than there is just having the totally commercialization of the kit. So we were very happy that there was a university and we were able to do a sponsorship with them. We are spending a lot of time. Mark and Tony and Eric and I and others just spent 4 days visiting probably 8 or 9 stadiums in Germany and England to look at best practices and mistakes that they have made. And obviously it is our intention and our great hope that we're able to renovate and increase capacity and deal with disabled issues and safety issues and keeping the flavor and the soul of Fratton Park as it is now. We've hired the biggest stadium architectural firm from London called HOK, and maybe the best architectural firm in the US, the Dean of architecture from Yale, Bob Stern, did a lot of work for me, and Disney. Between the two of them, we were looking at all sorts of possibilities. The one thing in every discussion we've had is that there will be a place for a museum and to show the history and to present it in a way that is, I don't want to say Disney-esque, because I'm out of it. But in a way that there are ways to present, museum ways to present things, and there are ways not to present it. And so, not only do we need the space, but we have to find a way that people can actually see it and understand it, and there's a history has a rhythm to it and all that. So that is in every planning. We were at how do you pronounce the name? Schalke yesterday, just to see a ridiculously giant stadium where the game, is that where the pitch came in and out?
Yes.
Something we're not doing here? Half of Portsmouth. But they did a museum, which is really quite nice. And they do it in a place where a lot of the fans go through it. It's not like just off in a corner. So that was an interesting, something that we saw that was a good practice. So we are definitely gonna do that. Every scrap of importance at the Disney company is in an archive at Disney. We have saved everything from the day it was founded. And people, make fun of that. You're saving a little toy, you're saving this, until you put it all together. And then it does tell the history. I mean, I decided a few minutes ago I was gonna go, but then it got overwhelming, to the store and get a piece of everything from last season, because it's the last time that crest is gonna be used. But I couldn't deal with the crowd, so. I'm gonna have somebody else do that for me. But doing it today is stupid. Who needs, a shirt from this season? Well, in 10 years, somebody's gonna wanna go back and say, well, what was that crest and why did they change it? And they really did it worse or they did better, whatever it is. So I'm a big advocate of what you all do, and we will definitely work with the Society, as I've said before. I love having the trophies. Now we'd like to add a few. I think, by the way, we really had a good year. Mark would have been, is Mark here? I'm sure he would have been crazy because they asked me if it was a spectacular year, and I said, yes, this was a spectacular year. And I'm sure if that gets out in the press, that the fans are going to say, a spectacular year is not winning, not being promoted, and so forth. But we did have a spectacular year. The management that we inherited is fantastic, which was not usual when you acquire something that is going through the kind of trouble you went through. We have a manager who we have a long-term relationship with, which is not usual in UK football. Like every 18 months people change. We're working on, the academy. We're working on the scouting. We're spending a lot of time on the master plan. I was telling to Michael Filer just before that what was interesting to me is he was telling me about the bombing and how his family moved to Petersfield during the bombing to save, obviously, children's lives. And when I drove down from London, I just happened 3 days ago, no, yesterday, whatever it was, 2 days ago, to go to Petersfield. I don't know why, it was a sign on the road that said Petersfield. I knew there was a train station there, which is like 20 minutes from Portsmouth and only an hour from London. I thought I'd look around, it's kind of a nice little town. And then one day later I hear that's where they escaped to. So I'm slowly learning the South Coast. But and what's clear is which is why we were interested in the first place, that there is, I'm sure there are, but there's none that I've found that have the relationship to the football team that Portsmouth has. It's kind of unusual. I mean, maybe it's because there's only one team in the city, whereas many cities have several teams. There's no real other sport. There's no big college knowledge sport. It's an island. It's the Navy. It was bombed. I don't know. For some reason, all those things together, when we showed up here one day and went to a game, unless it's the last game of the World Series at Fenway Park in Boston, I've never seen anything like it. Anyway, we thank you for your support, and we will work with you, work with displays, make sure it's all done. Now, it may take a couple of years, because before we actually have bricks and mortar completed. You don't want to make a mistake, and we have to deal with the council and all the things you have to do to get it done. And we don't want to build a monstrosity. We want to bring back a little of the Tudor feel as well, which has kind of been bastardized over the decades. So that's it. Thank you for coming.
Roger, and then we're going to need to do a press photo in a minute.
I was born in Burriton in Petersfield. I was taken from this city when the bombing was on, so exactly what you said, I was born there in Petersfield. I was taken from the bombing.
They bombed Petersfield as well?
No, they bombed Portsmouth, and then we were taken out to Petersfield, Burriton, and it's on my birth certificate. So
I think the thing is, the one thing as well, around our Heritage Lottery Fund bids and all that, this is about telling social histories. Yeah, what goes on in the pitch is an important part of it, but the far richer, more interesting, arguably part of it is those kind of stories about how it all kind of like intertwines. So hopefully we'll have a lot of fun over the next few years kind of telling those stories. So that concludes the formalities. I think we're going to be doing in a moment a kind of a photograph with the news photographer, and I think Paul, our photographer, is going to be doing some snaps as well. But that concludes the official part of the day. I think unfortunately we can't go next door again because I think they're preparing now for match day. We're on a regimental regime to get everything ready for tomorrow's game. But there are a few exhibits around, and if after we've done the formal pictures, do you want to have your picture taken with the trophy or whatever, feel free to kind of like to do so. But again, thank you all for coming, and hopefully this won't be the first time we're doing something like this. Thank you.